Do you believe that rejection might actually be a disguised gift? Sounds strange, doesn't it? But think about it. How many times have you been criticized or disappointed, only for it to redirect you towards something greater? The real question is, how long will you let others' opinions define who you are? If that question resonates with you, stick around, because this content is designed to open your eyes. Now imagine what your life would be like if criticism no longer shook you, if every rejection became just a stepping stone toward your true purpose. That's exactly what you'll experience by watching this video to the end. You'll discover a path to emotional freedom, where faith becomes a solid foundation, and you realize you were chosen to live something far greater than human expectations. Here's the point few dare to address. The approval you seek so desperately isn't in the hands of people, it's in God's. When this truth sinks into your heart, you don't just survive criticism, you thrive in the midst of it. Throughout this message, you'll learn to turn rejections into fuel for growth, criticism into lessons that strengthen, and disappointments into opportunities for evolution. No exaggeration. If you stay with me until the end, your perspective on life will never be the same. It's curious how many people spend their entire lives waiting to hear a "well done" or "I believe in you" from the wrong people. The problem is that when we place our worth in others' hands, we become hostages to their instability. Someone might smile at you today and turn their back on you tomorrow for no reason. This emotional roller coaster weighs heavily on the heart, as if your very identity were a drifting boat. The truth is simple. Only the one who created us has the final word on who we truly are. When your confidence rests in God, approval stops being an expensive trophy and becomes something natural and constant. It's like trading a shallow, murky spring for a flowing, crystal-clear river. He calls us his children, reminds us we are chosen, and gives us a security that cannot be taken away. Imagine how life changes for someone who, instead of feeling rejected for not being invited to a dinner, realizes they already have a guaranteed seat at the table of the King of Kings. That's freedom. In practice, this shift happens in the small details of daily life. Instead of posting a photo seeking likes to feel loved, a person might start using it to inspire, bless, and share something positive. Any feedback becomes a byproduct, not the fuel for self-esteem. It's a powerful reversal. Validation stops being sought and starts overflowing. That's how faith becomes a filter against criticism and rejection. This mindset also transforms relationships. Friendships stop being chosen based on superficial approval and start being grounded in respect, loyalty, and truth. How many times do people hold on to toxic ties just to avoid feeling alone? But those who understand that God is enough don't need to beg for attention. At this point, even human connections become healthier because there's no desperation to be accepted. Dependence on people leaves us vulnerable to manipulation and emotional blackmail. It's like always holding the key to your happiness in someone else's unstable hands. But when that key is given to God, there's a peace no one can steal. You may still hear criticism, but it no longer defines your identity. That's the secret of those who remain steadfast through emotional storms. And if you think about it, the greatest irony is this. When we stop relying on human approval, we naturally become more admired and respected. Emotional independence shines, and it's in that shine that the next lesson emerges. It's pointless to keep seeking something from those who can't give it. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the person we expect the most support from is the one least capable of giving it? It's like asking for water from a dry well. No matter how much you insist, nothing will come of it. Many spend years trying to win recognition from family, colleagues, or leaders who simply don't have that capacity. It's not a lack of worth in the seeker, but a limitation in those who can't offer it. Often these people carry their own deep voids. Someone who never received love or encouragement will struggle to give it. It's like expecting someone who's never tasted honey to describe its sweetness. Insisting on this only leads to exhaustion, frustration, and an endless cycle of resentment. When you understand this, you realize it's not about abandoning people, but about not chaining your soul to unrealistic expectations. In practical life, how many children spend decades trying to pry a word of pride from their parents, not realizing that burden may never be resolved? The secret is to shift the focus. Instead of looking at the emptiness of human hearts, look to the fullness of God. He not only acknowledges but celebrates every step of faith. The embrace missing at home can be found in the arms of the Creator, and that changes everything about how you live. Moreover, insisting on winning approval from those who can't give it is a dangerous waste of energy. The time that could be spent developing talents and fulfilling purpose is squandered, trying to convince someone who often doesn't want to be convinced. It's like rowing against the tide without noticing a favorable wind blowing in another direction. True wisdom lies in aligning your heart with that wind and letting it guide you. Whether at work, in family, or among friends, discernment is key. Not every silence is rejection, nor every criticism malice. Sometimes it's just the other person's inability to see what God already sees in you. This awareness prevents resentment and makes room for a lighter life. After all, no one can give what they don't have, and it's pointless to insist. When you finally accept this, you find freedom. Freedom to stop forcing closed doors and start walking toward those opened for you. It's at this point that a powerful story emerges, about someone despised by those closest to them, but who didn't let that define their destiny. Who was it? A young shepherd named David. It's almost unbelievable to think that someone like David, who defeated Goliath and became king, started life being underestimated in his own home. His father didn't even consider him an option when Samuel was looking for God's chosen. To make matters worse, his brother Eliab mocked him, implying he was just an arrogant kid. This scene shows a harsh reality. Often the greatest rejection comes from those who should believe in us. What's striking is that David didn't cling to resentment. He could have spent hours trying to prove his worth to his father or brother, but he didn't. He simply shook off the dust and stayed focused on the purpose God had already set for him. How many of us would have given up before facing the giant just because we didn't get family approval? David's secret was understanding that true validation didn't come from Jesse's house, but from heaven. This attitude teaches us that instead of begging for respect, we need to channel energy into what truly matters. David wasn't seeking applause, he was seeking to fulfill his mission. The same applies to those today trying to prove their competence to skeptical colleagues or relatives. In the end, it's not their opinion that shapes destiny, but God's hand over your life. See how this applies in daily life. How many young people give up studying because they're told they're not capable? How many entrepreneurs bury their dreams because someone close said, "It won't work"? David's lesson is clear. Hearing criticism is inevitable, but giving it power is optional. He moved forward, and that paved the way for the greatest miracle of his journey. The turning point is that if David had stopped to argue with Eliab, he might never have faced Goliath. That's the danger of wasting time justifying who we are to people who don't want to see. The energy that could be used to win real battles is squandered on fruitless debates. When we learn to turn the page quickly, we find the strength to live the extraordinary. And it's at this point that many personal stories connect with David's. Like him, each of us has faced looks of disdain. The difference lies in how we respond. Some freeze, others advance. And by advancing, David became king, forging a path of inspiration that echoes to this day. Now imagine how this principle applies to those who lead and face unexpected rejections. After his father's death, Joel took over as pastor and soon discovered that leadership comes with pressures and manipulations. A man close to the family tried to mold him to his own style, as if he could control every decision. It's in these moments that true strength of character is revealed, pleasing people or staying true to what God placed in your heart. The choice is always challenging, but also liberating. Joel chose not to yield, even if it cost him that man's approval. That decision brought rejection, but also maturity. The message is clear. No matter how respected the voice trying to control us, if it pulls us away from purpose, it shouldn't prevail. God's approval is infinitely more valuable than human applause. It's a test every leader, sooner or later, must face. This dilemma appears in various areas of life. At work, for example, a boss might impose standards that clash with personal values. In relationships, someone might manipulate emotions to maintain control. The key is clarity. Integrity cannot be sold for acceptance, That's the price of true freedom. This doesn't mean being rebellious or prideful, but firm. When someone chooses to follow God's voice, they naturally lose the fear of displeasing people. This stance not only strengthens identity, but also earns respect, even from those who initially criticized. In the end, everyone sees that integrity is more powerful than flattery, and that's a legacy that inspires anyone. It's worth noting that every rejection faced on this path becomes a kind of refining process. Like a diamond that needs polishing, character is shaped in life's tensions. And if the heart remains full of faith, every criticism stops being a stumbling block and becomes a stepping stone for growth. This shift in perspective makes the process less painful and far more fruitful. Thus, we learn that rejection, when properly understood, doesn't diminish us. It positions us. Joel lived this and discovered that the greater worth lies in pleasing God. And history shows that those who remain faithful attract favor and reap lasting fruit. No coincidence, then, that another biblical example soon emerges, illustrating how the obsession with approval can ruin even the most powerful. The human heart can get lost in small obsessions. Haman had power, wealth, status, and recognition, but one man, Mordecai, refusing to bow to him made it all feel insufficient. It's astonishing how a single no can overshadow so many achievements. This attitude reveals the danger of basing self-worth on others' approval. There will always be someone who doesn't clap. How often does this happen today? Someone receives dozens of compliments at work, but loses sleep over a single criticism. It's as if the mind is trained to focus on the one dark spot on a bright wall. This behavior not only steals peace, but also derails purpose. Haman could have enjoyed all he had, but he let one man's lack of recognition consume him. The story teaches that obsessing over acceptance from those who will never give it is a waste of energy. Instead of investing in projects that bless lives, a person wears themselves out strategizing to please someone who won't budge. It's like watering barren soil, constant effort, no fruit. When we grasp this, it's easier to redirect attention to what truly matters. A practical example. How often does someone try to prove their worth to an insensitive boss, while other companies or opportunities wait, needing only the courage to take a chance? Haman represents the risk of chaining yourself to a single closed door, ignoring all the others God has already opened. The true wise person understands that respect isn't demanded, it's a byproduct of fulfilled purpose. This episode also shows that pride is a silent poison. The inability to handle rejection led Haman to complete ruin. It's a warning. When the pursuit of validation becomes obsessive, even what we've achieved can be lost. The path of humility, in contrast, protects us from unnecessary falls. The focus must stay on the mission, not approval. And so Haman's fall reminds us that wasting energy trying to win over those who don't want to be won is foolishness. The secret is keeping your eyes on the greater purpose, where peace and fulfillment are found. And speaking of a lack of approval, there are also those who face the pain of never receiving validation, even at home, especially from a father figure. Few pains are as silent as growing up without hearing "I'm proud of you" from a father. There are stories of people who, despite trying everything, never managed to gain recognition from their own home. Each failed attempt felt like carrying a heavier burden, yet instead of letting bitterness poison them, they chose a different path. They found in God the Father who never fails. This decision completely changes the trajectory. Instead of living as a victim, they found strength to thrive, smile, and move forward. The joy that seemed impossible bloomed precisely when they stopped expecting what their earthly father couldn't give. By realizing they were loved and accepted by God, they gained a freedom no human applause could provide. It's pointless to expect an empty heart to offer what it doesn't have. When dependence shifts to God, an inexhaustible source of validation is born. It's like trading a cracked cistern for a living river that never runs dry. And this shift completely redefines how a person sees themselves. Practically, this might mean finding new ways to live out this identity. Reading the Bible with the eyes of a beloved child, joining faith groups that reinforce belonging, or even engaging in social projects to overflow with the love they once lacked. Each act becomes living proof that the absence of human approval doesn't have to be a sentence of failure. Many carry wounds for years trying to prove their worth to a father or mother, but the key is to redirect that gaze. When the heart rests in divine love, even the most painful rejection loses its power. And it's at this point that the lesson expands. If even those who never received paternal approval can flourish by finding their identity in God, then no one needs to live imprisoned by rejection. This freedom strengthens, heals, and guides. And it's this same spirit reflected in the letters and life of Paul, who faced abandonments but never lost the Lord's support. Few figures experienced as many ups and downs as Paul. From persecutor of Christians to one of the greatest spreaders of the gospel, his journey was marked not only by miracles, but also by betrayals and abandonments. He knew firsthand the pain of being left by those close to him, like Demas and Alexander. Still, he never made rejection the center of his story. He always repeated, "The Lord stood by me." This stance is a powerful reminder that even the strongest face disappointments, but don't let them consume them. Paul understood that faith was the unshakable foundation, not human relationships. He didn't ignore the wounds, but also didn't let them paralyze him. His strength was in God, and that was enough to keep going. Many today relate to this reality. Who hasn't been sidelined by a friend at a crucial moment, or betrayed by someone they trusted blindly? Paul's path shows that there's no need to grow bitter or give up because of it. It's possible to stay steadfast, knowing divine faithfulness never fails. In practice, this teaching can be lived by cultivating a daily prayer routine, journaling small victories, and constantly recalling how God has sustained in the past. These simple acts strengthen the mind and protect the heart against the temptation to cling to people's unstable approval. Spiritual consistency is the antidote to emotional ups and downs. Paul also proves that no one needs to be surrounded by applause to fulfill their mission. In several letters, he wrote alone, imprisoned, unsure if support would come, but certain he wasn't abandoned. The conviction that God was present turned any cell into a place of victory. This inspires anyone feeling forgotten or despised. And it's in this example that we discover true freedom, living to please God, not people. Paul made this choice his lifestyle, and as we reflect on his journey, we're reminded of another biblical moment when trust in people replaced trust in the Lord. And the result was a bitter lesson for David. Even as a man after God's heart, David stumbled. When he decided to take a census of the people, he wasn't just counting numbers. He was seeking security in what he could see, not in the invisible promise. This attitude showed that even the chosen can fall into the trap of trusting human metrics more than divine faithfulness, and the consequences were serious. This episode reveals an uncomfortable truth. It's easy to measure worth by appearances. Today, many do the same when they look to social media likes, follow accounts, or bank balances as if they were synonyms for stability. But deep down, those numbers are fragile. True security lies in the one who sustains life, not in external results. Interestingly, God wasn't concerned with the count itself, but with the dependence behind it. Trusting in numbers is like trading solid rock for shifting sand. It's like believing an umbrella protects more than the sky that sends the rain. This inversion of trust always leads to emptiness, because what's human is limited, while what comes from God is eternal. Practically, this lesson can teach us to stop measuring happiness or personal worth by visible metrics. Instead of comparing ourselves to colleagues or relatives, we can adopt habits that strengthen spiritual confidence. Daily gratitude, listing invisible victories like peace and health, and learning to celebrate small wins without needing applause. These steps completely change the perspective. David's mistake serves as both a warning and a comfort. If even he, with all his experience and intimacy with God, fell into the temptation of seeking security in what he could count, it shows that any of us can. The difference lies in repentance and the decision to turn our gaze back to the Creator. Grace always offers a second chance, and so this story paves the way for the final reflection. There's no lasting victory when we depend on human approval or numbers. The true triumph is living to please God, trusting that He strengthens, opens doors, and guides every step. It's in this direction that the journey reaches its climax, complete trust in the Lord. In the end, Every rejection, criticism, or disappointment carries an invitation. Choose to depend on people's unstable approval or rest in God's unshakable love. When we understand this, negative words stop being sentences and become mere noise along the way. It's like walking through a corridor full of voices, yet keeping your eyes fixed on the exit, undistracted. The beauty of this choice lies in the freedom it brings. Those who rely on human validation live like prisoners, always waiting for a compliment to breathe. But those who choose to please the Lord discover that life is far broader. This shift in perspective transforms relationships, work, family, and even how we face failures. It's a new way of living. Trusting God doesn't mean ignoring pain, but surrendering it to Him. In doing so, we discover He's an expert at turning wounds into testimonies. What seemed to knock us down becomes a step toward growth. And this isn't theory. How many people have flourished after the hardest experiences precisely because they learned to see through the eyes of faith? This surrender also opens unexpected doors. While we're busy trying to convince someone to respect us, God is already preparing connections that take us further. It's as if He's saying, "Stop knocking on closed doors, because I'm ready to open others you can't even imagine." It's in this movement that life stops being about survival and becomes about purpose. And when we talk about purpose, nothing is more valuable than knowing we were chosen to live aligned with divine will. This certainty eliminates insecurities and gives us courage to move forward, even when the scenario seems unfavorable. Trust stops being a bet on the future and becomes a daily foundation, solid as rock. So, the great decision isn't whether we'll face criticism or rejection, because that's inevitable, but who we'll trust when they come. If the heart rests in God, no opposing word has the power to stop us. And it's with this confidence that we conclude this journey, not seeking acceptance where it doesn't exist, but surrendering our lives to the one who knows every detail of who we are. To show you've made it this far, comment below this video with the keyword confidence. Also share this content with someone who needs to break free from criticism and rejection, because you never know how much it can transform a life. Tell me, what was the greatest disappointment you've faced, and how did God use that situation to strengthen you? Leave your testimony in the comments, and don't forget to click the video on the screen now to take the next step and get to know yourself even better.